Board of Trustees for the Harris County Department of Education now convened in a board meeting on Wednesday, October 20th, 2021, in boardroom at 6300 Irvington Boulevard, Houston, Texas, at 1:10 p.m. I wish to extend a warm welcome to everyone present in this in this meeting of the Board of Trustees. As trustees, we are here to set goals, listen to the reports from the superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and make policy for the district. It is not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management and day-to-day operations of the department are the responsibility of the superintendent. We have policies and procedures in place to resolve concerns and issues. This is a public meeting of the Board of Trustees, not a meeting of the public. Prior to this meeting, board members received information related to today's agenda. Agenda items will not necessarily be handled in the order listed on the notice. The meeting is open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. During the course of this meeting, the board may determine that a closed session is necessary. In that event, the board will meet in closed session to consider matters duly posted for this meeting as permitted by section 551.071 to 551.084, inclusive of the Texas Government Code. I respectfully ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking and that cell phones are turned off or in the silent mode. Thank you for taking your time today to join us for your interest in Harris County Department of Education. All right, we will move to the invocation, which will be done by Laura Espionaza from Maintenance and Operations.
Lord, we are convening today to oversee matters of business. Please guide our hearts and our minds in the essence of fairness, right thinking, and dialogue. Impart your supreme wisdom and insight upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful ending. Thank you for being our source of leadership today. Amen.
And now we have a Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. flag and the Texas flag by Denise Tucker from School-Based Therapy Services.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
All right. We will now move to the agenda item 4, which is the open forum portion of the agenda, but I have been informed that we have no one scheduled for that portion of the meeting. So we'll now move on to agenda item number 5, which are reports and presentations. And for agenda item 5A, we will move to Ms. Natasha Truitt, who will let us know who the employee of the month is.
Good afternoon. Today we are here to recognize and celebrate HCDE's Employee of the Month for October. The Employee of the Month program is designed to encourage recognition of HCDE employees who willingly take initiative beyond regular assignments, demonstrate a high quality of work and commitment to completing duties, work as a team member, and uses creativity, innovation, and collaboration to enhance performance. James Hilton, social studies teacher at Fortis Academy, is HCDE's October Employee of the Month. This is Mr. Hilton's third year serving as a teacher with HCDE. Ms. Trevita Goffrey, the principal at Fortis Academy, says that Mr. Hilton's greatest strength is building relationships with students that repair harm and foster learning. In one of his many efforts to energize his students, Mr. Hilton brought a chessboard to lunch. The principal shared that Mr. Hilton finds ways to sneak in historical lessons all day long. When he brings out his chessboard from Israel, he talks about his travels and the importance of experiencing different cultures. When the students play with his Battle of the Alamo themed chess set, he discusses the significance of the event and the motives of the opposing forces. Initially, the students only showed mild interest in chess until one student challenged Mr. Hilton to a game. As mentor and mentee dueled, 2 other students slowly gravitated toward them and soon became hooked. Chess is now a daily routine during lunch, and Mr. Hilton regularly observes, coaches, and plays the games with the students. The school hopes that 40 students will compete in the annual chess tournament hosted by the Academic and Behavior School West in January. I would now like to share with you a video created by our Communications Division featuring Mr. Hilton.
I am a social studies teacher. I teach everything for high school social studies. And I've been working with youth since I was 16 years old in one form or fashion or another. And over that time, I went to a Bible college and graduated with a degree in church and youth ministry. I've been a youth pastor a lot. I currently pastor a church, First Assembly in Shepherd, Texas. I think being a pastor has helped me. The training that I've had down through the years has helped me, one, to try to be understanding of people. It takes a lot of listening skills to be a pastor, and you have to realize that you don't have all the answers, and then you have to be there for them. That helps me to, as a teacher, to be able to understand people.
I think one of his greatest strengths is really building relationships. Mr. Hilton does not easily get frustrated, and he has a lot of patience, and he doesn't take anything personal. For him, it's whatever I can do to help these kids, and I'm going to build a relationship with them. I don't care how hard it is. That's something that I'm going to do, and that's something that I want to do.
Talks about 7 articles, and in the articles of the Constitution, they all have value. All right, so.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Now you remember.
I came in one morning actually, and I saw him putting something up in our, what I like to call, multi-purpose center, also known as the gym. Mr. Hilton brought out the basketballs, the footballs. The students started playing basketball. They tossed the football around, and it was just a way for them to kind of get that energy out. So him saying, you know, I noticed they're a little bit antsy in the mornings. They're kind of moving around, or they're even sometimes they're like, oh, I'm sleepy, so we need to get them ready and going for first periods. So every morning there's breakfast, and then there's physical activity. So the next day he brings this beautiful chessboard that's all about the Alamo. And the kids are like, the Alamo, like in San Antonio? Yeah, let's talk about that. So he's showing them the little pieces, you know, what they mean as far as generals and the soldiers, the bulls and all of that. It's a very intricate set, very beautiful. So he talks about that as he's just kind of playing with the kids. They get excited about that.
My queen's right here.
That's your queen?
That's my queen.
No, it's not. It's a guy.
Well, in this time period, it's your vice president.
And so him finding those little ways to engage them is very important for those students, because when they are in the classroom with him, he has a way of relating that information back to them. The work that I've seen him do with the kids here, I've been very, very excited and impressed by that. And I just wanted Harris County to know what a great employee they have in Mr. Hilton.
Good, you got the queen right there.
Yeah,
You could have took him with the queen. This one right here. All you had to do is back kick him. Yeah, move his back kick him.
Back kick.
If you're able to get youth at a young age, then you can avoid some of the problems that they have at this level. And I see what we do here as the final chance for some to make the choice to get an education and move away from the destructive behaviors that have got them here. And so I feel like this is a very, very important place for kids. You have to love the person in spite of the choices they make in order to be able to have an opportunity to help them grow.
So it's with great pleasure that I introduce our October Employee of the Month, Mr. James Hilton. He'll come up and make some remarks now.
I want to say first thanks to Ms. Godfrey for picking me for this award, and some credit goes to other people, because last year Dr. Moulton asked me to teach PE. I'm certified for that, And some of our kids didn't want to do PE on Edgenuity. And so our gym was set up for COVID, and so we didn't have a lot of room. And the boys, they don't mind basketball. Some girls like basketball, but they don't want to get in it with the boys too much because the boys are just rough. And Miss Mullins was there one day, and we was in the back with some ping pong tables and some other things that we could actually use during PE. And she said, if somebody walks through, they might not understand all this, you know. And I'm like, oh, okay, you know. And so she went through the process of ordering the stuff that we have now that's actually good, because a lot of the stuff we had before was probably there when it was still a DAP campus, and it's just old. And you know, basketballs were out of air, and you air them up, and they use them for a while, and the orange starts peeling off, you know. So a lot of what we have that is good now is because she ordered this stuff. And so we're sitting around, and the kids wanted to do other things besides just shoot basketball. I'm like, we have the net, because she ordered this stuff. And so I started just digging it out and putting it together. And so it worked out good for the kids, because most of the time they come in off of their buses or whatever, and the first thing they want to do is find some place to sleep. And instead of them, you know, then by the time school's ready to start, they're still tired trying to wake up and stuff like that. And so I just did what I felt was needed, and it worked out. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here and receive the award.
Hold on, Mr. Hilton. Don't go anywhere yet. Now, see, I've been playing chess. Y'all ready? I've been playing chess for 27 years. I was actually taught to play chess by my students. And there were students who had been incarcerated who learned to play chess while they were incarcerated. They taught me how to play chess. And so I've been beat multiple times in our chess tournament here at HCDE by some of our students, but in 27 years, I've never heard of the move of a back kick, especially by a queen. How does the back kick move do again?
Well, you just kind of, when you're on the back of the board, you just kind of move it back.
Oh, you
That's
take
the
both your
back
hands
kick,
and move
yes.
it back. That's a back kick. Well, congratulations, sir. I've been in your class multiple times, and I love it that we have people who are engaged in the educational process, and you make kids curious and want to learn. And these are some of the students that have been forgotten about, and then they come to Fortis and they get remembered and celebrated, and it's because of staff like you, so thank you, sir.
Trustee Dick.
So I absolutely love what you're doing. I'm a fan. I'm a old 300. I love Texas history, and the Alamo chess is just amazing. A good way to educate kids in a couple different ways. But what I also really like is I'm an advocate for every morning getting some exercise. I think so many people don't do that, but I like it that you're trying, at least with the kids early on. If they want, get some exercise in the morning before they start school. It's good. It's a healthy habit. Hopefully they continue to maintain that the rest of their lives. Thank you for your hard work. I really appreciate it. You're a beacon of all the great things that our schools can do.
A couple things before you go. We're going to get a picture with you, so don't go too far. But I noted a couple things that I was listening to. First of all, I love chess mainly because it's a thinking game. I try to tell my kids, play it. It's a game that makes you think. You have to think a few moves ahead. It is a far more complicated game that makes you think a lot more deep, and that's kind of how life works. Life is not a matter of simple steps. It's about what does this affect this, and how does this affect my aspect of life. So very, very happy to see that you have inspired kids to think and get involved and get their brains moving while they're in school. I also noted that you give a lot of, when you talk about social studies, you talk about motivations. And actually, surprisingly enough, I was ranting on my blog, and one of the things that I mentioned is that more people need to note motivations. A lot of times people want to talk about when people talk about social studies, sometimes people say, well, this was good and this was bad. And unfortunately, that's not a very productive discussion. When you start talking about, well, what motivated this person to do this? And what motivated that person to do that? I think it becomes a lot more enlightening. And I think people can put themselves on the page a lot more. And that makes kids think as well. So just all that to say, thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. We're going to get a picture with you, I believe. So we're getting the board, I think the whole board is going to get a picture with you. So come on up front. We don't bite, so come on up.
All right, Mr. Hilton, if you'll get kind of this way. Okay, there you go, perfect, all right. All right, everybody's here, just kind of crowd in, be friendly. Move in a little bit, Mr. Dick. There you go, excellent. All right, now I need you to tip that forward towards me. No, tip it the top towards me, there you go. Yeah, a little bit more, okay, perfect. Here we go, everybody smile. Okay, hold it. There we go. All right. One more time. Thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna make sure we use the kickback move next time when y'all get on the chessboard for sure. All right, now we will move on to agenda item 5B, which is recognition of Principals Month. Jonathan Parker, who's the assistant superintendent, and Dr. Charles Ned, senior director of schools, will give this recognition.
Okay, let's keep the celebrations going. Good afternoon, Board of Trustees, Superintendent, General Counsel, and Administration. We are standing before you today because October is Principals Month, and so we want to take the time to recognize and celebrate the work of our fearless leaders. These 4 principals are unique in their skill set. But one thing that they all have in common is the love of our children. And so we want to recognize them and celebrate them today.
Our principals are very special people whom, as Mr. Parker mentioned, they have a skill set that's like none other. Oftentimes working with students that many have given up on. There are many adjectives that I can use to describe our principals and the character traits that they bring to the workplace each and every day. But I only name a few. They're patient, they're caring, they're creative, they're courageous, they're inspiring, dedicated, engaging, helpful, motivating, and knowledgeable. So that's a lot of attributes.
You kept it to a few.
And so with that, and obviously, you know, each month since the inception of the Employee of the Month program, it's great that we highlight employees that go above and beyond, that take that extra step when needed, especially those in our schools that's working with, you know, even working with a teenager, two teenagers at home. You know, there are trying times, and I can put the belt in my hand sometimes. But, you know, with students that you have to speak to them continuously just in terms of not just academic things, but more or less trying to get them to understand the ways of the world and the things that we need for them to instill in their day-to-day so that they can be successful once they leave us. So at this time, we'll go ahead and learn a little bit more about our principals as we celebrate them.
I cannot explain to you how happy I am when I get up in the morning and go to work. It's not really a job for me, it's a calling. I can relate to where my kids are coming from. I see, as a mother, I see the struggles that they have and say, hey, I'm still here for you. Mistakes don't define your future. I'm still here to help you be a productive citizen.
We're being supportive, no judgment. I feel like this is a place of refuge for them, and just knowing how much courage it takes, because it does, to admit, number one, that you have a problem, and then want to get help for that problem, and for them to be able to do that at that young age and stick to it, because they already know it's something that's going to be just a lifelong struggle. So for them to want to do that as teenagers, that's just phenomenal to me.
When I think about being a principal, one, I always think of the saying, you know, heavy is the head that wears the crown. Because there's so much responsibility tied to it. You know, the responsibility of, you know, our kids, you know, doing well academically, but also being safe. Our students struggle with, you know, connecting to others. Our students have a struggle with trusting adults, trusting individuals who have their best interest at heart. Some of our students have been through a lot of trauma.
These youngsters here, they need a champion, someone that's going to care for them, help them grow and mature and become great citizens, and then to help teach them to be successful, not only as students, but as productive citizens. And so this job is really something that I take to heart. All right. Hey, Sergeant Shaw. Hey, this is Dr. Keys, Navy Air West. How you doing?
All right, how you doing?
It's been a while, man. I have a young man here that thinks he's want to join.
I know I want to.
We're still talking to him, man. That's why I like pouring myself into this job, because these youngsters got a long way to go, and I want to make sure that they're prepared once they leave here.
I have amazing teachers who, you know, pivot and change when we ask them to, or, you know, with the feedback that we give to them. But more importantly, is open to building those relationships with students and the staff. I'm just saying, we have some great people here.
I know all my students, and so we get a chance to interact. I get a chance to, you know, find out things about them. They find out things about me. I get a chance to talk with them, and it helps de-escalate them. And so that's what we want them to do, remain calm, remain focused, so they can learn.
The expectations I think that society have on children, it gets a little cloudy sometimes. They forget, number one, that we're still talking about a child. I have zero tolerance for people who look down on my kids. It's never about, oh, you over there working with those bad kids. No, I'm working with future doctors.
People may think, you know, we have the bottom of the bottom, but no. We have the cream of the crop, and what we hope to do here is really just engage them with that same level of engagement that they would get at their home campus.
After I actually got the job, I literally drove past that school, and I would slow down and just look over to my right and say, girl, you're the principal of High Point School. Everything that I have worked for the last 20 plus years, it literally has brought me to this place. And the spirit of gratefulness that I keep telling everybody, they ask me, how you doing? I'm just grateful. I'm grateful. I am so grateful.
And so before we call the principals up, let me say thank you to the comms team for always putting together a high-quality product. Mr. Colbert, did you want to say something?
Yes, sir. A couple things I'd like to say. First, I'd like to add to Ms. Waters, after she got the job, I thought I was going to pick her up off the floor. I think she had caught the spirit or something. Principals are super close and near and dear to my heart. I can think of no position I've had in public education that prepared me better for being superintendent than being a principal. It is a difficult job. We've got 4 principals that are responsible for every single human on their campus, friend or foe, visitor or student or staff. And I make it my business that anytime I walk on a campus, it doesn't matter what state I am, I will always stop by the principal's office and let them know I'm in the building, just because they should know who's in their building, because they're responsible for me. What we have at HCDE is an eclectic group of tremendous leaders. The campuses that they teach or supervise are not easy ones. But you wouldn't know that if you walked on them. You couldn't convince a staff member of that. These principals love these kids and care for them and protect them along with their staff. And so, you know, we've got 2 new principals that I like to refer to them as big paws on a little puppy. They're gonna be big dogs one day. And they have added a whole different dimension and level of excitement and enthusiasm to the leadership role. And you can see that and feel it when you go on their campuses. It's infectious. And so I think HCD is truly proud and honored to have y'all represent our campuses. And for that, I love you and thank you.
Okay, at this time, principals, we're going to ask you to come up and receive your proclamation from the Governor of Texas. Afterwards, if you would, principals, remain up front, and board, we're going to ask you to take a picture with the principals. So let's start with the doctors. Dr. Donna Trevino-Jones, please come forward. Next up, Dr. Victor Keys. Home of the Knights. I'll go ahead and say that for you. Next up, the rookies. Miss Trevita Godfrey. And last but not least, Miss Courtney Waters. Come on, boy.
Absolutely, yeah. Dr. Keys, so. There you go, perfect. No, that's good. All right. Let me see here. All right, we're kind of lopsided. Somebody come over. Yeah, Dr. Ned, you come over here. Mr. Cantu, if you move that way. Dr. Ned, move that way. There you go. Mr. Colbert, move. There you go. And there you go, Mr. Dick. And then, all right, everybody in. All right, please tip your things forward. A little bit. Yeah. All right, a little bit more. Dr. Keys, kind of tip yours this way out. I'm trying to get rid of the reflection of the monitor here that's, no, it's, go ahead and tip it out this way. There you go. Now I don't see. Okay, here we go. All right, everybody. This way. Big smiles. Excellent. One more time. And last one, big smiles. Thank you very much.
All right. I'm now really officially warm and fuzzy. We have seen our Employee of the Month who, representing those who go above and beyond, and our principals who represent those who deal directly with our students. So Superintendent Colbert, the next agenda item will be Superintendent Colbert, 5C, with his monthly report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a few things to update the board on. First, I'd just like to say special thanks to our trustees. About a couple weeks ago, most of us ventured up to Dallas for the TASA-TASB conference. And it was a great conference sitting around our board of trustees. I felt like they got probably a whole lot smarter and thought of some really innovative things to ask me to do. So I'll spend, a month or so deprogramming them from that, hopefully. But I seriously, I've been a superintendent for 11 years, and I've never had more than one board member attend that conference with me. And so to have the representation that we had that day, and then we had an incredible dinner with Ms. Langlois, and the fellowship, but we truly have a team of 8 at Harris County Department of Ed. And that's when you will always see the best things happen, is when you have a true team of 8. So I appreciate my board of trustees, my bosses, for attending that, and look forward to the next one. Tools for Teacher, just wanted to give you a quick update on that. As of today, we have fulfilled 892 orders. I believe, Ms. Bartz, they've got this month and next month to be able to fulfill the rest of them, and I think we should be able to hit that deadline. But that initiative's going well and ultimately is going to get filled. I want to give a special shout out to Dr. Amesqua. Dr. Amesqua was honored last week for the Pinnacle Award with ASBO, A-S-B-O. Tell me what that means again. And so he got an elite achievement for the work that we've done with our AB West campus and his, magical style that he uses with financing and this, that, and the other. But the bigger thing about it is that, here at Harris County Department of Ed, we strive to be standard bearers. And we want to be looked at as the benchmark for public education, especially alternative education. And when we have members, especially captains of mine, that go and get recognized on a national level for awards that are very difficult to get, then we make one extra step towards that marker that we're trying to hit, where people see us as the standard to want to be able to try to achieve. And so thank you, Dr. Amesqua, for that, and I thank you for the representation. We sent a small entourage with him also to help celebrate that, and so that was a good trip. All right, 2 other things. I'm going to be handing some stuff out here. We have an important date coming up next week for our trustees, where we have a groundbreaking ceremony for our AB East campus. And so we need to get in the rhythm, because this stuff is starting to happen now. We've got things to approve, where we got general contractors, and then they're going to start moving dirt, and there's going to be tents and ribbons and chairs, and there will be 2 things for every one of these facilities that we do. We will do a groundbreaking ceremony where we'll really keep that probably more intimate with the staff and contractors and architects. But then we will do a ribbon cutting ceremony when those facilities are complete, and then we will invite elected officials, superintendents, and all that, because we'd like to give them a tour of the facility so they can see. And so it's up. So AB East is first on deck, and then we're going to have adult ed and then ultimately High Point. But I would like to invite all of our board and the people in the audience to attend the groundbreaking ceremony October 26th at 10:30 a.m. Hopefully we'll have some good weather. We'll try to keep it short and sweet, but it's really one of my fun times and fun speeches I like to do, because I like to see us building buildings and giving new facilities to kids. And then finally, I'm going to pass out another document here. This is a really well, it's our version. It's a draft of what the mailer is going to look like going out. And the first week of December, to 750,000 voters. If you would like, it's going to fold like this. Look at me. So it's going to fold on the outside, and so they'll have the postage on it, and they'll go out, and do all that. But this is what we wanted to do with this version that went out, is really just kind of celebrate some of the successes and how parents and staff see our campuses and the students who attend them. We'll have another mailer that will go out in the spring that will have a different format to that, but this is all a part of our overall arching awareness campaign. And so I wanted y'all to be able to get your hands on that and take a look at it. Just know that we had intended on sending it out to more people, but with the cost of paper and postage right now, which is crazy, $750 is what we will get, and they are randomly chosen. The next one that we will do in the spring will be a different 750,000 citizens in Harris County in the spring. With that, that's all I have, sir.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Superintendent Colbert? It's Trustee Dick.
I'm kind of looking over this. Did you mention anything about choice partners? Because what could be helpful to us is for the general public to know, especially nonprofits, if they join the cooperative, that every dollar they put in, it goes to help public education. It could be a way to sell and generate more revenue to hopefully make this larger.
Okay, that's something that that works perfectly for what we're going to do in the spring. That's something that we can incorporate in that.
Any other questions or points for Superintendent Colbert? I will just say that I did appreciate the TASB conference as well. I was the one candidate that went 2 years before when we actually had it, so it was glad to go with the group, because the good thing on it, I didn't realize until this last time that some of the things you want to go to, you can't go to all of them at the same time. But if there's several of you, you can say, well, I'm going to go to this one, you can go to that one, and so you can split up and actually get more ideas. So it was a great conference. We had a good time, very good time. So thank you for everybody who was able to make it. And it was actually a time other than the board meetings when we're not exhausted, when we're actually together. Usually after the board meetings, it's like, good to see you, I'm going home. That was a little more of a downtime where we actually had a chance to hang out a little bit. So great time. All right, and also congratulations, Dr. Masqual. I think last time I was giving you a shout out as well, and I'm glad to. I will gladly give you a shout out at every meeting for all the awards that the finance team keeps getting. So congratulations again on that. All right, so we will now move on to agenda item 5D, which is the annual divisions update on maintenance operations by Richard Vela, Executive Director for Facilities.
Thank you. President Norris, Superintendent Colbert, General Counsel Ms. Langlois, distinguished members of the board. It's our pleasure today to provide you a maintenance and operations report for the division. At this time, in order to do that report, I'm going to invite to the podium Mr. John Prestigiacomo and Javier Lara. Mr. Prestigiacomo is our Director of Maintenance, and Mr. Lara is our Operations Manager. So they're going to provide you the report today, so we hope you enjoy it.
Okay, well, y'all know me, I'm JP. So, I know right now it's October, but let's try to rewind our minds back to the very beginning of this year, 2021, and I think we all had a hope that this year was going to start off less dramatic and just be a better year than its predecessor. But I guess about 2 weeks into February, a little weather disturbance called Winter Storm Uri came and visited our fair town of Houston and stuck around for about a week. It affected everybody. It shut down the city for the whole week. We had rolling blackouts. People lost power. People lost water, and literally shut down the entire city. But about midway through that week, I was able to get our facility guys out. I think starting Wednesday to go check our facilities, our schools and Headstarts were a priority, making sure to see what kind of damage we were sustaining. And believe it or not, out of all of our locations, we only had damage at 3 Headstarts. It was Baytown, LaPorte, and Sheffield. Baytown and LaPorte had some sprinkler damage and domestic water damage, and believe it or not, the cleanup and repairs to that were fairly minimal and fairly quick once parts were acquired. But as you can see from the pictures, Sheffield got the brunt of the storm, so it won the award for most pipes broken and most damage done to a Head Start at any one time. So this started the long process of remediation, and pretty much felt like redoing the whole school, from ceilings to all the pipes to replacing all the flooring, most of the sheetrock at least 4 feet up, and having to repaint the whole school. But on the good note, as we made it through the summer and school was right about to start, we finally got the project finished. It looked like a brand new school, and they were able to have kids in on day one. So we were proud of getting that project done. Just some boring statistics. 9 maintenance field technicians. We did approximately 3,500 work orders over the 30 sites that we do, which include, of course, the 2 admin buildings here in MPO, our 4 schools, and our Head Start campuses. The gentlemen and women you see on the screen there are our maintenance staff. Those are the people who are in the office and who are also out in the field, and are obviously it's not all the facilities, but is the majority of the maintenance group. And those are actually the true heroes that I wish I could have them all here and stand up and give a bow and introduce them, but they're the silent heroes. I can't have it happen, otherwise things wouldn't be getting done. So they're out in the field working right now, but if I could get a small hand of applause for the guys who aren't here, I really appreciate them. So these are my heroes. These are the guys that make sure that I still have a job at the end of the day. So here's one of our favorite little stories here. This is just to show you how awesome a board we have. Mr. Cantu was out driving one day, and he actually came upon Juan Carlos, who was broken down in one of our company vehicles pulling a trailer, getting ready for a big furniture move. So Mr. Cantu pulled over, and we were getting our mechanic, was en route trying to get parts, trying to get him up on the road. Mr. Cantu had his flashers on and helped maintain traffic for us and keep our guys safe. Between Juan Carlos, the mechanic, and Mr. Cantu, they got that vehicle up and running, record time. Before I could even get on site, they were already gone and already getting ready to move furniture. So just Mr. Cantu, appreciate you looking out for our guys. And I mean, that just shows what kind of board members we have that care for our actual personal safety and look out for us and take care of us. And it kind of led to a funny story after the fact, that once Juan Carlos and Annabelle started passing around, oh yeah, we were just there, and one of the board members showed up. I said, hey guys, I just want you all to know, wherever you are, wherever you're driving, whatever locations you're at, just imagine that a board member could run into you at any time or something. So always act as if and be on your best, because they could be right behind your shoulder and you not know it, because that's the kind of board we have. They're at our schools, that are in our programs, they're involved, they're everywhere, and they're anywhere. So they loved retelling that story to me and stuff like that. I wish I had actually gotten in there on the picture, but no, it was very cool, and we thought it was really cool, Mr. McCann too, and everything. So appreciate you again once, sir, about that. So where we got Javi, you up. Mr. Javier Laura, our operations manager.
If I can just jump in and say, I was just so impressed that we have somebody on staff that was dispatched to replace a part right there on site and get the other gentleman rolling again. I was just so impressed with that, so good work.
And I'd say, Mr. Cantu, watch out because we might be buying more trucks at the end of the year.
You hear that, Jesus?
No, I got it. You just keep talking.
Good afternoon to all y'all, and go Astros, by the way. My name is Xavier Lara, Operations Manager. I'd just like to point out about our current staff right now. We have 20 custodials, which we got them located at 4 schools, or adaptive behaviors, APCs, adult education, or post-oak, and at the Irvington buildings. We have 2 front desk receptionists, a mail clerk, a meter room manager, and 1 parking lot monitor. Here we have our ladies at work here at Irvington and at Westview, doing some cleaning, disinfecting. And some of our protocols are at all the locations right now, they are being sanitized daily. They receive deep cleaning weekly. All the locations are sanitized at the end of every school year, and again before the school year starts. We also have our floors that are being buffed, waxed on a quarterly basis, and our carpets are being cleaned on a set schedule. For the meetings this past fiscal year, we've had 20,753 attendings in the conference rooms, which include at the conference center, 100s downstairs, and at our North Post location. I just wanted to add real quick, as far as our disinfecting parts, we are partnering up with Germ Blast services, and they're also doing thorough disinfecting at our Headstarts, at all the schools, our properties, and so we're kind of doing double the extra to combat for this COVID. So, any questions?
Any questions from?
Superintendent Coolwood.
I'd just like to say how y'all do a fantastic job, all your staff. You know, I'm very nitpicky about facilities, and they need to be nice and look clean, and I like the floors looking wet. I mean, I don't like seeing dirt, trash. I want the grass edged. I mean, so I'm very nitpicky, and they all know pretty much my mentality, but, you know, there's nothing to really be said because our staff keeps all of our facilities looking really good. And so it's with that that gives me encouragement, and when we start going out and asking to build new facilities, that I know that they will look new for a very long time, because our crew is under very, very good and tight management, and they have a high expectation that they meet every day. So I appreciate you and your crew, so thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And I just want to thank you, you know, maintenance and operations. You know, especially during the pandemic, my wife always asks me, "Are you going to be okay?" And I was like, "Don't worry. I know when I go there, all the protocols will be in order." So, and I know that it will be clean and we will be in effect. So, thank you for doing what you're doing, keeping us all nice, safe, and healthy. So, thank you. All right, we will now move on to agenda item 5E, which is the annual division update on school-based therapy services by Carrie Crabb, Senior Director of School-Based Therapy Service.
Okay, so good afternoon, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Colbert, General Counsel, and Administration. Thank you for this opportunity to share with you some highlights about our division for fiscal year 2021. Before I get started, I'd like to take just a moment to thank all of my staff for all of their hard work and their dedication through a very challenging year last year. Most of them are not here today because they're out working in the schools, and we're also trying to keep the number of folks in this room down because of COVID. But I do have one person who is here that I would like to take just a minute to recognize, Denise Tucker. Would you stand? Denise has been with our division for 38 years. Denise holds our institutional memory for our division. She keeps us all on track, and she's definitely one of my go-to people. And I'm very grateful for everything Denise does. In addition to Denise, we have 8 other managers and 4 administrative and clerical folks who support our 152 therapists that work out in the county, out in the schools, in the charter schools all over the county. A little bit about us. School-based therapy services has been partnering with school districts and charter schools in and around Harris County since 1978. Our therapists work collaboratively as part of campus and district teams to help students with disabilities to be successful at school and to participate in the school community and prepare for life after school. The services that we provide are occupational therapy, physical therapy, music therapy, and management services, including management consulting, program evaluation, and staff development and training. We also provide services to the community by the way of leadership groups. We have a music therapy, a mental health, and a physical therapy leadership group. We support professional fieldwork students. We provide a training ground for people who are learning to be therapists, and we're very committed to that. Unfortunately, last year we had to take a hiatus because of COVID, but we're back up and running, and we have many students with us today and going to be with us throughout the year. We also do professional development, and we had a very successful professional development event last week. We had a 2-day autism workshop in which Temple Grandin actually came and did, well, she didn't come, it was virtual, but she did our keynote speech, and that was really amazing to be able to introduce Temple Grandin. It was, we had 263 registrants, and it was attended by 445 people over the 2 days, so it's very successful. We also run TechSpot, which is it's a website to provide authoritative leadership resources and help to OTs and PTs who are practicing in school-based practice across the state, but we're also visited by many around the country as well. A few data highlights. Last year we served 6,276 students, 5,764 educators. We partnered with 31 different educational entities, and you can see how those broke down. This is a list of the contracts that we had with school districts and charter schools last year. Our top 5 contracts were Cy-Fair, Katy, Houston, Spring, and Spring Branch. This is a percentage of the students that we serve broken down by disability, and you can see that autism continues to be the largest category that we serve, followed by intellectual disability and other health impairment, which includes kiddos with ADHD. Every year at the end of the year, we like to ask our clients how we're doing, and we ask them to rate us on a 4-point scale, with 1 being highly dissatisfied and 4 being highly satisfied. And you can see over the past 10 years that we come in consistently in that 3.5 to 4.0 range, so we're pretty proud of that. We think that they're pretty happy with the services they're receiving. A few key highlights. So I mentioned a challenging year last year. So despite having multiple COVID campus closures, we had staff that had to quarantine either because they were exposed or they had COVID. We had a hurricane, a tropical storm, and an ice storm. Despite all of that, our division was able to deliver 96% of the contracted days that we had contracted with districts to provide. And the reason we were able to do that is because we have therapists that are very, very dedicated to their students, and they work to find ways to continue to provide those services. So when either they were quarantining or students were quarantining, they would just move seamlessly back and forth between in-person and virtual services to do everything they could to make sure that the students got what they could get. Our districts have continued to contract with us throughout the pandemic. So over the 3 years that were impacted by the pandemic, the number of contracted days that districts have requested has actually increased every year. We were asked to present at the Texas Occupational Therapy Association School Focus Conference, and one of our music therapists presented at an international online music therapy conference. Trends, what we're seeing is that the need for virtual solutions is continuing, partly because COVID is continuing, but also because we've found new ways to use technology in innovative ways, and we think that that's just going to stick around. There's a growing special education population, and that has resulted in an increased demand for school therapists. Unfortunately, we have a very challenging hiring market, as I think most everyone is kind of experiencing. And we feel very fortunate, knock on wood, we are currently fully staffed. And we believe that that is partly to do with our reputation. People know about us and they know therapy services is a nice place to work. They want to come work for us. Our biggest source of referral is our own staff who recruit their friends to come and work for us because they like their job. We have a high retention rate, and we have lots of students that we've also trained that come to work for us. And all of those things, I think, are helping us to meet the demands, and we're able to continue to give districts what they need. So, do you have any questions? Yes, Mr. Cantu.
Superintendent Colbert, I'm sorry, Superintendent Colbert.
You can go first.
First of all, Ms. Crabb, thank you so much for your presentation and more importantly for what you and your staff do for this important population, part of our population and community. The services we provide through our therapy services is something I knew little about when I joined the board, and I feel like I still don't know a lot about it, but it's something I've become very passionate about and concerned about as I've learned more about it and realize just how little, we're doing for this portion of our community, for this part of our community, and so I want to thank you for everything y'all do because it's so important. As I visited with one of the special schools in Aldine, I think it's called Lane.
Don't know that one.
The exact name of it, but they work exclusively with this part of our community, and the things that I learned, aside from what I've learned from what we do here, is that these clients, these students, have very little options, very little resources in the community to turn to once we are done with them, once they graduate from our schools or from the schools in Cy-Fair or HISD. And so that's very, very heartbreaking, very concerning to me, just because what comes along with that is hearing about just the lack of socialization and resources and just more importantly just the issues involving life expectancy and just the lack of resources amongst the parents. I just plead with you and this administration to continue to look for ways to partner within the community with other agencies and other government entities to see how we can't, if we can't, expand the network of assistance and services for this community. And you got my commitment to do what we can do on this side of the table to fund and find resources for you to do your job. So thank you so much.
I definitely agree with that. Transition is very, very important, and our OTs and PTs and even our music therapists are very involved in that transition process because we realize we only have 21 or 22 years with these individuals, and so we work very hard always with the end in mind, starting from when they're 3 years old and they come to us. with what is life after school going to be for this child. And that is one of our big goals, is helping them to be successful life after school. Thank you.
I'd just like to say our therapists do a fantastic job, and they were really a great example of how agile HCDE was during COVID. We had therapists doing things that they had never done before, where they were making house calls to ensure that the students that they were dedicated to continue to get services in the midst of a pandemic. So thank you for your leadership, and I appreciate all of our therapists. They're a great group of folks, so thank you.
Thank you.
And I will just say, I think I said this last year, I'm pretty sure I did, but I thank you both as a board member, but also thank you as a parent who has used the services. My son is a handful. He has been, his history been a handful. And I remember when I saw that you guys had services, I remember like, well, if it's free, sign them up. We've been throwing everything at this kid. So, so as a parent who has actually used your services, thank you, and keep doing what you're doing. It's very personal to me, and I know that a lot of parents are very appreciative. So keep doing what you're doing, and I also will be very willing to help do whatever we can to reach more students, because parents, when you're a parent, you just want to do everything you can to make sure that your child is able to keep moving forward. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we will now move on to agenda items 5F, other reports from board members concerning attendance or participation in board or HCDE related conference, event, activity, or committee, accolades for HCDE staff member or other deserving person. Do we have any board members? Trustee Dick.
I want to congratulate Daniel Bartz on your upcoming child and your successful baby shower, and hopefully your baby's happy, healthy, and everything goes well. Congratulations.
And yes, and it was. I got some of the punch. I got there late. I got a chance to give a gift and get some punch, so it was fabulous. So absolutely, congratulations again, Ms. Bartz. Also, I think it was last week. I didn't realize until the day of, I think, that there was actually a forum downstairs. There was an organization that threw a forum for the HISD candidates in our conference room, and so I decided to peek my head in. And actually, I didn't realize I was keeping the facilities people here, because I was out there running my mouth in the parking lot with some of the people in the parking lot, and I was like, oh, am I holding y'all up? I'm sorry. So, but thank you. I didn't even realize it was happening here. So thank y'all for, we're definitely a part of the community. I was really impressed. Somebody sent me a message about that. I was like, oh, that's at our building. Let me go by and check it out. So thank y'all for doing what you're doing. Thank you for bearing with me as I was holding up the parking lot. So thank you very much. All right, we will now move on to agenda item 5G, which is report from any committee chairs. Do we have any updates from any committee chairs? It doesn't look like it. Seeing none, we will now move on to agenda item 5H, which is monthly financial reports by Dr. Jesus Amesco.
Okay, these are the financial highlights as of September 30th. And then we'll also review the budget amendment report. All our financials are posted on our website. The balance sheet as of September 30th is assets of $35,062,222, liabilities of $3,713,005, and total equity of $35,062,222. Our unaudited financial statement, or fund balance rather, is we have $35,062,222. Because our revenues and taxes have not come in yet, we are utilizing fund balance of $2,443,930 for the first month of the year. Some of our ratios, again, because some of the data still hasn't come in terms of the revenues, they're going to look a little bit off. And again, this is just 1 month out of the year. Fund balance ratio, 621 versus 324 last year.
Working capital, same as 31 million as last year. Unassigned fund balance is at 63% versus 69% last year. Debt to income ratio, we haven't made any payments this month, so those payments will be made in August and February. Tax revenues, again, we haven't received any collections. We'll start receiving those in December. Indirect cost ratio, also we haven't received any of the indirect costs from our grants for the first month. Fee-for-service revenue ratio, we're at 25%, about 27% we were last year, keeping pretty much where we've been in the past. Fee-for-service ratio is not growing at this time. We're kind of, right now for the first month, we're at -6%. That will change as months go by between now and the end of the year, of the calendar year. I'm sorry, fiscal year. So the first amendment that we have from September to December, we're 1,086,300 for fiscal year 2021-22. We have inflows of 632,114 for the first month, a total of 921,340 of inflows for the month of September. Expenditures were 3,081,526 for general fund. Again, it's just the first month. And then special revenue or our grants at 1,703,299. And then we have encumbered in our capital projects some of our ABEs that's already been encumbered, and we're about to encumber adult ed, and so we have some encumbrances for the year. Expenditures not yet, but some of the encumbrances in the capital projects fund. COVID-19 funds for general fund, we still have 526,173 available. HHS from Headstart, we still have 1,787,134 available from that fund. Grants received were 625,025 in cash, and in kind of $2,480.48 for the month of September. And primarily for technology, Headstart programs that were some gift cards and some books that were received. The first month out of the fiscal year, we have the values have gone from 443 billion certified to 488 billion, and we still have 32 billion left to be certified between now and the end of the fiscal year. So we're still projecting at 521 billion at this time. The collections, again, those will start probably in December. So right now we have not collected from the current tax, a little bit of delinquent tax for the current month, 29,693. Again, this is the usually in the month of September and October we don't collect much in terms of current taxes. The estimated collections, the amount of the budget for the fees that we're going to collect or that we're going to be paying the appraisal tax office is approximately 180,902 and 525,000 to collect the tax. The disbursements for the month, there were 23 checks, 683 transactions, 6 transfers, 2,055,814. The first month of the segment data, again, is the first month. Educational certification, 6,143. Records management, minus 172,641. Therapy, minus 965,589. And then schools at 1,103,553. And the first month revenues from choice still pending some revenues, just expenditures of 211,650. Our amendments for the month for general fund are 436,658. Special revenue and grants 2,009,955, and then the capital projects fund for 24,989,852. So the first one is a roll forward of encumbrances. We have some encumbrances that we have outstanding POs that we did not get the merchandise, so we're rolling them over into the new year, and so we have to amend the budget for that amount. That's $414,658. In terms of in the placeholder for $22,000 for contracted services as well for after-school program, $22,000 that we also increasing the appropriation for our case after-school program. Special revenues, a grant for Headstart, $254,258, and then increase also the amount appropriated for after-school program, $1,674,750, and then the Safe Schools additional grant rolled over of $80,957. And then the capital projects of $24,919,529. There's a spreadsheet later on, about 3 slides that gives you the detail of that 24 million by project, and so I'll wait until we get to that point so you can see what that 24 million is, what makes up that 24 million. Disaster recovery, $70,323. Roll forward a grant that we received, so that we're moving forward that into or an encumbrance that we're rolling over into the new year. Foundation update, they have equity of $419,897. No activity in the month of September, just a $30 charge on the transaction or on the foundation. Lease revenue bonds, again, we're continuing to include the small business program for construction in our proposals. We just received proposals for High Point East yesterday. So we still have available equity balance in the PFC, including the maintenance notes and the general fund transfer of $49,951,540. This was the original proposal from the back in August the 3rd, 2020. As you can see here, some of the costs were from general fund, maintenance tax notes, and then the PFC. So here's the balance of that 24 million. So the adult ed project was identified as 18,096,473. We spent the items in yellow, 947,276. Therefore, that leaves us a balance of 18,096,473 for the adult ed project. And so that's what we're amending into the line items, that amount, that 18 million for the new year, because the fiscal year changed on September 1, so we're carrying them forward into the new year. The AB East, the original amount was 15,236,875. We've spent year to date, or project to date, I should say, 665,338. That leaves us with 14,571,535. High Point East project, 7,916,645. We spend primarily architects, 304,133. That leaves us in a available balance of 7,612,511. And then Irvington project, we have spent year to date 331,546. And if you recall, there was an amendment of 2,469,000 that was transferred from AB East to the Irvington project, and so the amount in Irvington project is 10,504,952. Other capital projects underway is Coolwood Headstart Center, again funded by HHS. We've closed on the property for Seaven and Houston Parks Board, and also working on the Barrett Station and Humble Headstart projects that are under development. There is a notice of federal interest on the Houston Parks Board that we closed last month. And so this is just a notification that the project at Coolwood, there's a notice of federal interest that we need to be mindful that that is a federal land that was purchased with federal money. And so we cannot just do anything with it. We gotta get the federal permission if we were to do that. Questions on that financial statement before I go into the investment side? On the investment side, our portfolio as of September 30th, we have total of $78,521,641, of which $30,608,669 is the PFC. The general fund and other funds are $47,914,972, and that includes some of the maintenance notes that are in the construction fund. Excuse me. 93% of our funds are in pools. 7% is a money market sweep account. The PFC is in the tax pool, and Bank of Texas 3% in the part of the PFC. A difference from a year ago, it was a difference of $43,512,278, primarily because of the bond issuance that were done last year, 124% change. All our funds are virtually overnight, earning, again, very little interest, $684. We're at 0.04 in the benchmark, which is the average yield period is 0.01. And this is the trend that has been here the last 12 months, 0.1, 0.6, 0.8. I mean, it's just very, it almost, we just want to preserve the capital, the principal, rather than not reduce that. So, and those are the rates that are available. Questions that you may have at this time?
Any questions for Dr. Mesqua? No, I don't see any. Seeing none, we will move on to.
Thank you.
No, thank you. We will move on to the action item, agenda item number 6, action item, consensus list. Are there any items from the agenda, the consensus list that any board members wishes to pull? Trustee Duhan? So we, the F5. Any others? All right, so I'll entertain a motion from the board to approve all the action item, the consensus action items on the consensus list, excluding F5.
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Duhan. Is there a second? Seconded by Trustee Dick. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move for a vote. All in favor, raise your hand, right hand. Passes unanimously. Moving on to the non-consensus agenda. Well, moving on to the I guess we can move on to F5 first as a part of the non-consensus, the beginning of the non-consensus items. F5 is approval for interlocal agreement with the City of Houston, Harris County Flood Control District, Houston Community College System, HISD, Port of Houston, et cetera, et cetera. Is moved by Trustee Duhan, seconded by Trustee Cantu. Any discussion?
Just want to hear about it, please.
So this is an interlocal agreement with all of the Harris County taxing entities to take properties that have fallen delinquent on the tax rolls and give them over to the Houston Land Bank in order to bring them back into, they'll do improvements on them, sell them, turn them over, hope to get them back on the tax roll. So this has to go for approval in front of every taxing entity in Harris County to agree. I believe in the backup it's 82 or 83 properties, if I remember correctly. So they just go one at a time. The City of Houston is who coordinates that, but each taxing entity has to approve and renew the interlocal agreement before they can move forward with moving those properties.
Why do they call it a new home development program?
I think that's the title of their program, the City of Houston's new home development program. Those are properties that some may not have an actual home on them and some might, but they're not receiving their tax revenue now. And so they're putting them into their program to help develop. It's the Land Assemblage Redevelopment Authority through the City of Houston. And so they'll be adding development, updating, getting it into new hands, and hoping to get them all back onto the tax rolls.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move it for a vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. Passes unanimously. Yeah, it was, I can't see what the second, yes. All right, we'll move now to the non-consensus agenda, which is, we'll move to action item 7A. Consider award of CSP number 21/072EJ for the new Adult Education Center to Paradigm Construction in the amount of $15,121,000. It's been moved by Trustee Cantu. Is there a second? Second by Trustee Hinojosa. Any discussion? Trustee Duhon?
I just think that maybe it'd be nice if someone who was in the PFC meeting would like to talk about that at all.
Superintendent Colbert, you gonna knock that one out?
Sure, I can do that. There were a lot of people, but so we had 13 general contractors respond to this. This is, like I said earlier, the second project that we're doing as part of our renovation plan, and Paradigm rose to the top. And I think we got a good general contractor. I had an opportunity to meet with them and sit down with them, and I think the sooner we can get this approved, the sooner the price of steel can stop going up and we can get started. So thank you for responding to it, and I look forward to the construction on this.
Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor? Passes unanimously. Moving on to agenda item 7B, consider approval of memorandum of understanding with Baylor University regarding clinical experience in educational leadership. Is there a motion? Moved by Trustee Hinojosa, seconded by Trustee Cantu. Any discussion? Oh, yeah. Superintendent Colbert.
This is, apparently I was selected to do a mentoring program for one of our employees who is getting their doctorate degree. And as a part of that, I've mentored many people in my career. I've never been compensated for that until Baylor just forced me to accept compensation for this. So this has to be approved by the board to be able to do that. I think her program has got 2 months left on it before she finishes.
Any questions for Superintendent Colbert?
I haven't. I'd like to see more of this. I think it's great.
Well, I did tell Baylor I was willing to mentor about 50 of their students. They didn't bite on that.
But it needs to be a better school. Why are you doing Baylor?
Hey, if Rice pays, I'll do it too.
Any other questions for Superintendent Colbert or anybody else about this agenda item? Seeing none, we'll move for a vote. All in favor? Passes unanimously. On to agenda item 7C, consider approval of a resolution amending the authorized representatives in the Lone Star, Tex Pool, Texas Fit, and Headstart investments pools.
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Duhon, seconded by Trustee Cantu. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move for a vote. All in favor? Passes unanimously. Moving to agenda item 7D, approval of the project delivery contract method of competitive seal proposal for the new Coolwood Headstart public utility project. Entertain a motion. So moved by Trustee Hinojosa, seconded by Trustee Cantu. Any discussion? Seeing none, moving for a vote. All in favor? Passes unanimously. Agenda item 7E, consider adoption of resolution concerning emergency administrative leave with pay. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
I think it was moved by Trustee Hinojosa, seconded by Trustee Duhon. Any discussion? Seeing none, moving for a vote. All in favor? Passes unanimously. Trucking along to action item 7F, consider adoption of resolution authorizing a one-time COVID-19 vaccination incentive stipend for eligible HCDE employees who are vaccinated against COVID-19. Moved by trustee Hinojosa, seconded by trustee Cantu. Any discussion? Seeing none, move for a vote. All in favor? Passes unanimously. On to agenda item 7G. Consider emergency adoption of revised policy DC local in accordance with policy BF local, which permits emergency adoption of revised policy due to special circumstances, demanding immediate response. I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to explain what that is so the board knows what they're.
We'll do it. Let's do it in discussion. Let's go ahead and get.
Second.
So it was moved by trustee Duhan, seconded by trustee Cantu, and Superintendent Coble will let you start the discussion.
So what this is this is actually an extension to something that y'all have afforded me the authority of in previous years. This is basically the ability to hire employees outside of a board meeting. We're in the biggest hiring crisis I've ever seen in my professional career. And right now, to be fair, we're losing. I mean, we found several really competent people that we wanted to hire, but in the effort to have to wait to be able to get them approved in the next board meeting, other districts have been able to move on them quicker. Our campuses right now, we have multiple vacancies at the campus level that very much concern me. Right now, we're fine because we're not at full capacity, but ultimately in the spring when we do get at full capacity, we're going to have a problem on our hands because we're going to be understaffed. This is a phenomenon that's happening throughout the entire country, but certainly in the state of Texas. And so HCDE has always been able to be on the winning side of things because of our speed and agility to get things approved. And what I'm asking the board to do is to grant me the authority to be able that when a principal brings a qualified teacher who's certified, who's good, that can go through the regular process it normally goes, which is a pretty extensive process. And by the time it gets to me, I can say, yes, let's go ahead and hire that person. What's hurting us right now is having to wait, sometimes 20 days before we have a board meeting, and then that person's no longer available. There's been multiple times when we were supposed to have we were supposed to go into executive session because we had someone to approve, only for Ms. Truitt 2 weeks before the board meeting say, take that name off because we just lost them. So this is basically what that agenda item is. It's not an unusual request. There's many school districts, large school districts, there's no way you could go through all the resumes. There's 100 people they're hiring a month. I mean, there's no way. So this is not an unusual request, but it's certainly one that helps us stay competitive in the race right now.
Is there a time period that's associated with this, or is it indefinite?
Well, to be fair, I don't know how long this phenomena is going to go on that we're experiencing right now. I watched a pretty interesting commentary this weekend about why there's this massive epidemic of just vacancies in everything, just a ton of vacancies. And I'm not sure, I couldn't have predicted, no one could have predicted it. I don't know how long it would last. So right now I'm asking for the board to do it indefinitely because I don't know when it will stop. But we're losing right now.
If we were to do that, that would require us to have another agenda item sometime in the future to reverse that situation. Is that something that we need to talk about?
As Mr. Colbert said, many school districts, especially those here in the Houston area because of their size, already have this in policy. This is not separate and apart from the current circumstances with regards to hiring. Previously, the policy as it's currently stated provides Mr. Colbert the authority to make these contractual hires from May 1st to August 31st during the summer months. This would just remove that time period circumstance to where he would be able to hire contract employees no matter throughout the entire year. It does have language though, however, that if it's a new position, so we're adding a new FTE, for example, then that would still have to come to the board to approve. It's only for existing positions.
So what difference would it make if we were to extend it a year so that it would have to be reapproved in a year if we wanted to continue that policy rather than making it indefinite? I'm just afraid to make a change that people don't recognize exists in the future, that maybe there would be some reason they wouldn't want that. They would want to be able to approve those things in the future.
So my recommendation would be to approve the policy, the draft, the revisions as it's currently. And if it, like any local policy, if and when the board, either next month or in a year or 5 years from now, wants to do something different, you're always free to review and revise your policy. In the past, when we have included dates in policy, and I'll give you an example. One was board meeting dates. We had in BE Local that up until, I think it was like January 2018, I'm just throwing it out there, that board meetings would be held the third Wednesday of the month at 1 p.m., but only through that date. Well, guess what happened? That date came and went, and nobody paid attention. And we kept having meetings at 1 p.m. on Wednesdays. And so, you know, it was I think like years later, maybe a couple of years ago, where we caught that and had to go back. And so, my preference from a legal perspective would be to not put an end date in policy. That, again, if you all ever wanted to say, no, we want to go back to only summer months or whatever the case is, that you could always review that policy then. Just wanted to hear other opinions on it.
Trustee Dick?
So I'd note that the chairwoman could, if she'd like, just schedule if we did approve this chairwoman could schedule a policy meeting and go over it and maybe do a deep dive, and that'd probably be the appropriate forum to do a deep dive. That would be my humble suggestion.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll move it for a vote. All in favor? Passes unanimously. Now moving to the last item on the concessions, on the non-consensus agenda is 7H, discussion on COVID-19 leave days for HCDE employees. Entertain a motion? Moved by Trustee Duhan.
Well, it's a discussion. That's actually.
Oh, I'm sorry, discussion. Sorry
At
about
our
that.
last board meeting, Ms. Duhan had asked for this to be a discussion item for future board agenda.
Okay, sorry, this is not an action item. This is a discussion item.
Sure.
So let's get to discussing.
So, the situation is that we had a COVID leave policy that existed so that if our employees needed to be out for a COVID positive test, that they could use those days and not have to use sick days or personal leave days. And that exists because we want to ensure that people aren't feeling the need to bring a sickness into work so that they're not using up their days. And I think we were all in agreement of that. However, if they have children who tested positive and they had to stay home with their children, they may not use those COVID leave days according to the policy as it exists. And I would request that we could allow our employees, to use COVID leave days if they have a documented COVID positive test for one of their children. And in addition to that, it's been a period of time where that could have been an issue. And so I would recommend even that it could be retroactive, in that if they used sick days or paid leave days, that they could retroactively have that go to COVID leave days for their children if they can prove it, that that was what they were out for.
Superintendent Colbert?
You know, I understand the question, and there's some concerns. One of the biggest concerns initially, so first of all, I hate to say this because it may sound tacky, but not all of our employees have the best intent possible when making a claim. We do have some people who will stretch the rules, and it ultimately weakens the system for everybody who really needs to take advantage of some of the benefits we provided. I say that to say that one of the first things that we would have to tackle is how to define a person's child, because that will absolutely happen. That you will have people who say, well, you know, we're not married, but it's my husband's daughter who's got COVID, and so I need to stay home. And then we get into this discretionary thing where we have to determine whether that's some person's child. Here's another scenario. My mom, who's 90, has COVID. I'd like to use my days. She's not a child, but it's the same as having a child, and so that we open it up for that. So to that specific point, what we've tried to do, and the board has approved a very gracious COVID policy, where I think with the administration that recommended so many days, and y'all added to those days, which is better than most districts do. But my fear is opening up a can of worms that would make it difficult for our HR department to manage. And then, in fact, we would end up policing it versus managing it. And ultimately, it might cripple the system to some extent if it gets abused for people who actually really need it. And we hate to say that people are lying or cheating or anything like that, but I will tell you that when we made a decision to change the policy that now if you show symptoms or whatever, you've got to use your personal days unless you have a doctor's note, people stop getting sick all of a sudden. And there were people who had already claimed time thinking it was going to be free time that wanted to, they changed their mind, they didn't feel sick anymore. I don't want to use my personal time because they were exploiting the policy. And so my fear is the exploitation of it. My other fear is the having to police it rather than govern it. And that's not a role that administration really likes to be in unless we absolutely have to. And so that's my initial thoughts. Now, the retroactive piece,
I have a legal problem with
yeah,
that.
that's going to be that will make what I just described twice as messy.
And I don't think legally can do that, because I think that's a gift of public
Yeah,
funds.
speaking to the mic.
Sorry. I don't like giving legal advice in open session. We can talk about that in executive session more if you want.
Those are my initial concerns, Ms. Truitt. I don't know if you have any.
Just to add, Ms. Duhan and other board members, in case you're not aware, in addition to the COVID leave days at the beginning of August, I forgot my mic cover, I'm sorry. At the beginning of August, we did provide every employee with 5 state local leave days that they're able to use if they're sick or if they have a sick child. And then each month they receive local leave days. So a lot.
What you're saying is that there were an additional 5 days that were given on top of
So again,
the
that's
COVID?
just our regular leave allotment that we do each year. So every August, employees receive their 5 state personal leave days that they're able to use for discretionary or non-discretionary reasons. So we did just recently receive a chunk of days, and then each month we accumulate additional personal leave days. And then again, if employees get sick and they test positive, the board approved also awarding those 8 COVID leave days to employees. So I'm assuming it's still the beginning of the year. Many of our employees, in anticipation, we have COVID still going on, are kind of saving and reserving the days in the event they need to use the days for a sick child or some other reason. So there is a bank of leave days that employees do have available to them.
Trustee Dick?
So I'd be supportive of something if it included adding children to. I think I do hear resistance from the organization, but we also have to keep in mind that the people that work for the Department of Education, this is a much harder school district than any other school district. You have children that are very special, and they require a lot of attention. So I don't have any issue with if we were looking to add in children. I think that's reasonable. I think the organization can figure out how to manage that. So I'd be supportive.
Thank you. And I want to add that we could discuss further, but there would potentially be ways to ensure that the child is under their address, on some documented doctor's information, or, we could use specific stipulations, and I don't know what those might be, but I think that it would be worthwhile to ensure that our employees could use their COVID days for their children.
So what I would suggest is that we put this in the form of an action item next month or our next board meeting, and then in the event that it gets passed, we'll also be able to present what that policy would look like. Just know that administration will put a tremendous amount of safeguards in it to allow us to be able to implement it with fidelity. But we also need to do it and coincide with our business department too, to make sure we can afford it. Not every, we can't afford to do everything. And so, but we'll look at the implications of that and then have a lively discussion about it next month, and then we can vote it up or down.
Trustee Hinojosa?
Can you remind me how many COVID days our employees get? So how are we, one of the things we're going to need to discuss is the amount of COVID days and how they'll be impacted, because if your child gets COVID and then 2 months later you get COVID, how are we going to handle that? Because if you've already used up a majority of your days being home with your child, then what do you do when you yourself get COVID? So that's something else we're going to have to address.
And really the current problem we have now is people use up all their personal days and sick days, and they're not necessarily sick, and then they want more days without getting their days docked. So then someone ends up getting sick, and they go, oh, well, I got to take those days because my kid's home. But you didn't have kids. That kind of thing. That's what we need to be careful of, is that there's people who may and will exploit the policy, so we need to make it ironclad so we can reduce that exploitation and it truly benefits the people who need the benefit.
Any other discussion for action item 7H? Seeing none, we will move to executive session. Under the Texas Government Code, pursuant to any and all purposes permitted by Section 551.01 to 551.084, including but not limited to 551.071 and 551.074. We are now moved to executive session at 2:51 p.m. We are here to reconvene at 3:15 p.m. We will move on to agenda item 10, which is discussion of possible action regarding future agenda items. I'm not sure, does anybody have any in particular? I can't remember if it was this month or next month, Dr. Mesqua. We were supposed to get an update on status, what is it?
The small business program.
The small business program, yeah. Just want to kind of get an update on that program.
Received one request for payment for the contractor, so we don't have the data yet. As they start billing us, we'll know how much we're spending in each of the projects.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll provide an update. We only have one payment right now, which is the payment for the bonds for AB East.
Would it be better than possible to have this maybe like at the beginning of next year? Is that a better time frame to have more data?
It's about 8 to 9 months from now.
So that would be more like the middle of next year.
Yeah.
If you just wanted to see that contractor.
We have an estimate of what their projections are.
You can see that if you wanted to.
We can provide that.
That'd be great.
That one won't be hard numbers of like, this amount of money went to that. It's just a percentage. They each have to submit a plan to use small businesses and what that
Right,
percentage
and the minimum
like.
was 15%. Some of them came in at 21, 25, different numbers.
It'd be good to at least see what they're planning on doing, and then I understand is if you're saying you plan on doing something, it's not done until it's done. So I understand.
Okay, so
that'd be
we'll do that for the 2 projects that are already been awarded.
Okay.
AB East and Adult Ed.
Okay, sounds good. Any other potential future items? Doesn't look like any. So with that. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Been moved by Trustee Cantu, seconded by Trustee Dick. All in favor? No discussion? Seeing none, moving for a vote. Passes unanimously. We are now adjourned at 3:17 p.m.